All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to Reparations Saturdays. This is a weekly podcast that is put on by the good folks at the High Point NAACP and Flex the Vote. Here on our podcast, we are talking about reparations for the Native Black American citizens of High Point. There's a resolution that has been presented to the city council to establish a commission to study reparations to see, what its effects will be on the city of High Point. And I first want to introduce my panel. We have a great group of individuals who've come on, who we every week discuss these facts, these options, these possibilities. I want to introduce my panel, Miss Courtney Alston Wilson. Good morning, Courtney. I want to introduce Mr. Ken Watts with Flex the Vote.
Hello.
Good morning. And I'm going to introduce my lovely co-host, the incomparable Miss Constance Reynolds.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm coming up on camera in just 1 second.
The incomparable. That's what you get, guys, with this group. Top level, top shelf. So today we do have a special visitor. This young lady, she comes to us from the High Point NAACP branch. You can call her somewhat of a historian. She is a native of High Point, lived her life here in High Point, and now she's fighting the fight for reparations for High Point. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Miss Doris Patrick. Miss Patrick, good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
And how are you this morning?
I feel very blessed this morning to be with you all and still in my home, able to communicate. This is, at 81 years old, this is very amazing to me. Thank you for letting me barge in.
Well, anyone here who is serious about reparations, there is no barging unless we're going to barge in to get our reparations. So, we're going to start on that note. Guys, we've now been through reparations now for about 6 months now. September, October, November, January, February, 5 months. And we've now gotten a resolution passed to establish the commission. So now our steps are to elect a selection committee who will elect the commission. And so we were going to talk today about, what does reparations look like? What do we have that fits into the definition of reparations and how that reparations will impact those recipients and who those recipients are. I want to bring on first Ms. Patrick, because you had mentioned earlier that you wanted to discuss who bears the responsibility and who are the recipients. So I'm going to start with who bears responsibility. Who do you guys think is responsible to produce reparations for citizens of High Point?
Okay, my answer would be, and you can elaborate on that. And I think just for a lot of people, we should change that word, descendant of the perpetrator, who must publicly apologize and do the right thing towards the Blacks. But I want to change that word. Is there another word I could use instead of perpetrators?
What do you suggest?
Well, I don't know. I don't have my thesaurus right here, but I'm thinking that I have a couple of people in my neighborhood, and I used the word perpetrators. They said, Darcy, I don't know what that means. And that saddened me. I want to talk a language that the public can understand.
How about offenders? Offender. I'm sorry, offenders.
Descendant of the offenders who must offenders. Or were they offended or were we offended?
I think that's a legal term. So if we're talking,
descendants of the thieves. What I mean, we can just
yeah,
break
I
it
was
down.
gonna say
Just
the
make it an
thieves.
easy word. It doesn't have to be a
That's
thesaurus
good.
word.
I
They
like
thieves. I don't know what we want to call them. Savages.
Pirates.
No, no, we
Murderers.
call them pirates. Too nice. That's a nice word. They won't get that.
Murderers.
From
Rapists.
Miss Doris, thieves. They were thieves. Rapists, terrorists.
Thieves,
I don't know
rapists,
what we
and
want to call them.
murderers.
Terrorists.
Terrorists. There you go.
Terrorist.
okay.
Ooh,
If
that's
There are a lot
good
of things. There's
That's a
so
good
many things. There's so many words.
okay, answer this for me, Courtney. One said, and I was talking to one of my white friends. They said, but we were not old enough. We were not involved in that. So why do you think that we're supposed to share what we were not a part of?
Because you are a part of it. If you're implicit and complacent, if you see things around you that they know they live on one side of town and you live, Miss Doris, on another side of town, if they have benefited from their businesses being able to go to the bank and get a loan when maybe you couldn't get the loan, when they live in their all white neighborhoods, when they go to their all white private, that's called, segregated schools, when they go to their country clubs and when they go to their white Christian churches, oh, that's a part of it. That's a part of it. When they marry only them, it's all a part of it.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me kind of interject here. Because Courtney's a very strong position about what we're owed as reparations, and she's right.
It's reality. I'm reality driven.
She's right. She's right. But let me just ask, and this goes back to what you were asking, Ms. Patrick, when the individuals they say why are they responsible? And I think the word complicit comes to mind. So just like what Courtney said, you have profited from a system, a process, or just the general, attitude that you deserve something more than your Black counterparts.
That you get something more than your Black counterparts, not even deserve, that they actually get, they gain.
And this is something I thought about because I was looking at an article of a young man in Greensboro who I think he received somewhere around 95,000 or 700,000. I don't know. I have to get the article again, but he was given compensation for wrongfully being arrested. And I think about that as we talk about reparations. It seems as though there's always a money solution when evil things happen to our people. Wrongful death suits, civil action suits always come with monetary compensation. Like they're admitting they did wrong, and this is a way to make it right. If we can do it as we're being wrongfully accused in present terms, then I think that's the basis for how reparations should be given long term. If you can give me money to say, here, I was wrong for what I did to you, wrongfully imprisoned, slavery, wrongfully accused, changed our name, economically, severely economically impact in this case, which is a disadvantage. Again, we have reparations. And so what do we tell those people? We tell them that they are the descendants of evildoers. There are some atrocious things that happen. And if you want to be sensitive about what happened, this is why we're talking about how sensitive it is for us to improve our households, our community.
And Rob, when we use the word happen, we need to use the word happened. And in the same sentence, Ms. Doris, we should say and happens. These things aren't ancient. These things are trickling down over generations. Each generation has a story, a different story than the other generation. Same, similar, but different story, different time. The KKK don't look the same now. The oppressor doesn't look the same.
It does not.
Our knowledge is not the same.
So, you are so right, because I was telling this friend or an acquaintance, I said, the house that you live in up there in Emerywood, it came to you through heirs. That's an inheritance that you live in. Yeah, but that has nothing to do with reparation. I said, but if your grandfather did not have the business that he have, did not work, my uncle and my brother and cousin to make the factory work,
Labor force.
you would not,
Mhm.
that's a good word, he would not have had the money to pay for this house. So my descendants are the one that did the labor force, well, the labor for what your grandfather received, but they shortchanged us, and I say graciously uh, gave themselves a bonus by buying what they wanted. They got fine cars, fine houses. I said, did you ever think where that came from? How they got the money from that? And that I could not make them understand it. Either they didn't want to hear it.
They don't want to.
They
They're
don't
highly
wanna they
intelligent
don't want
when
to.
it comes to running a business, running a corporation, living an everyday life. They're highly intelligent. They know how to fill out their taxes. They know what breaks to get. They know all the things to do, Ms. Doris. It's not that they don't want to see it. And that's when it comes to be, sheer shame on you, because you are a part of it. And just this conversation alone allows me to see, and you should be able to see, look in the mirror, they should be able to see that. This is a conversation that tells me that you are a part of it.
Right.
It separates you none, that you're not even upset that I'm unjustly treated. You see the injustices. You know that in High Point there are no black historically generational wealthy people of our color. They know that. They know we have no footprint in the industries here. So just the fact that she's okay with that alone denies her being a friend. You're not a friend. Now you become an enemy because you are a part of it. And until you step up, whoever your friend is, and speak out and speak that this is something wrong with this situation, then you're a part of it. Yeah. And that's
Right.
when you carry on your generations of evil.
Wow. Wow.
There
And,
you
you
go.
know, I like to say, Ms. Patrick, that was a beautiful explanation of what it means for them to be responsible to the injustice. Just like Connie had that great shoe situation. I ain't forgot about them shoes, Connie. We have to show people exactly what it means, and we're going to show them on their level. And what you just described, I think, that should be a centerpiece of our conversations. This is why, you should contribute to this because you have benefited from it. And then let me move one more question in regards to that. Once we get them to that point, because that's the shame part of it, then how do we explain to them how reparations work? Because I hear Ms. Doris, the people say that why should they be responsible? Well, I don't think they're coming out of their pocket with the money. And that's the way it kind of sounds like. Why do they feel like they should support it? I don't know. But what do we tell them when they ask that question? Well, why do I have to give anything to reparations? What do we tell them?
I don't know. I want you all the idea on that. My response.
And let me just say the reason I asked that is because I'm leading
I'll
into
take
the
that
question of what is reparations. So to get them to understand those people who descendants perpetrated the crime, when they say what's reparations and why should we, to me that sounds like they're already part of the process, so they know there has to be reparations. So how do we explain it to them what's reparations?
You should tell them the same way they got those stimulus checks, the same way they are part of that indirectly is the same way they're going to be indirectly affected by reparations. Same concept. Same way you got that stimulus check that you spent, same way you got that PPP money. That's the same concept. Just look at it that way, white folks.
Well, at the end of the day, everything boils down to tax dollars. And just, the same way, I send my substantial tax check every year, and I don't get a report back on what it's been spent on. It gets spent on all kinds of craziness. This is a portion of that money being spent on justice. And that's just the bottom line. And as far as why, you should be held accountable, as a person to pay, for that justice. I mean, your tax dollars have already gone to provide justice for all kinds of groups that, were harmed in America's very bloody history. This is just another instance of the exact same thing. And no one is excluded from that. No one is excluded from that debt. Even if your ancestors just got here one generation ago, the reason they came here is because America is one of the richest countries on earth, if not the richest country on earth. Is the shining emblem that they made it their goal to get here. And it's that way because we built it. Our ancestors in the killing fields of America set this country up to be the richest country on earth. The only reason you wanted to come here was because of what our ancestors went through unjustly, and the debt is owed, and it's owed by all who enjoy America's riches.
I like that, Ken.
That's good. That's good. Okay, another question I get when I'm out there. I was in this Friday talking to about 20 people. The question was, what is restitution? And my answer was the redistributing of tangible resource that make up for the 244 head start that you had in building and transferring of generational wealth. Okay, I think that went over their heads. I don't think they got it.
I wouldn't say they didn't get it. I think they do understand, and they use that dumbed down approach. Like, what do you mean?
Come on, Ms.
Like they
Doris.
want us to give them the answer to the question they already know. And they're going to pick it apart because they say, well, we can't really do that. Like Courtney's idea,
Like
the
it's
tax card.
driven an idea.
Yeah.
Just go back to how we amazingly got these checks in the mail from our government. Nobody put up a push, Miss Doris. Nobody did. None of them people, nobody put up a push when they got that PPP money. And our community didn't get the money, their community did. So please believe that they know. They just hoping that you stay asleep.
Yeah.
Let's reverse this. We're not talking to the white man right now, the white woman. We're talking to the blacks that did not understand what I said.
Okay.
Okay. So
Well,
maybe they don't understand.
One thing I would tell. Hold on. Let me say this before we move on from that. And this is a general rule that you should go by. When it comes time to, like Courtney said, had a great example, doing your taxes. When it comes down to doing their taxes, they can come up with every convoluted, complicated loophole and exception to the rule and everything to save every last dime. White folks are great at complicated. There's no shortage of intelligence there. So our question, and I think every Black person that has this conversation should really wonder, why is this so confused? Is it that it's so confusing and just so difficult?
No.
Or is it that you really just don't want to hear?
You don't want to get it.
This is
and if it is in fact that you just don't want to hear, then like Courtney said, you're just at keep your evil doing going, because that's what you're doing. You're just as evil as the murderers and rapists that preceded you.
Well, I don't know if we want to call ignorance. I don't know if we want to call ignorance evildoers. We have to give that some credit. No, I mean,
It's
just hear
fake
me out on
ignorance,
this.
though.
No,
Rob,
wait a
it's
minute.
fake
Wait a minute.
ignorance.
Hear
It's
me
highly
out.
intelligence is
Wait
what
a
Rob
minute.
is saying. It's a highly intellectual person that can play this out over time.
Okay, so hear me out. What Ms. Patrick mentioned was individuals that she talked to. And let's be real about what she's saying. She's talking to people in High Point. So let's talk to, because when you first said it, Ms. Doris, I was assuming we were talking about those that have. So I was talking about that generational perpetrator of evil. Now we're going to go back to our people. And we're talking to our people to get that understanding of what reparations is.
Exactly.
So how do we let them know what a redistribution of tangible resources mean? Because remember, if this is 400 years of indoctrinated slavery, then there could be some key points missing for us to understand what that means.
So
Some
Ms.
people in High Point may think it's a check. Some people in High Point may think they may get a house. You know, they don't understand what reparations really means.
Exactly.
Like,
And
Got
we
it.
don't know, we don't 100% know either. And that's one thing we can tell them, because we don't know what until this commission says what our wants are. We don't really know. We just know that these are things that other people have utilized and gotten from their reparations. Maybe we can, say that, in Asheville, it was in the form of a housing program. In Evanston, they actually received checks, and then they received this, and then they said they were going to, get this over time. These are the things that we would like to happen, maybe, and tell us some things that you would like to see, maybe, when you're in the conversation. Bounce it back. But one thing we need to really make clear with our people is that it's not something that they're giving us. Like, people say,
Right.
a lot of time we get a lot of pushback in our community because they like, we ain't begging for no check. I don't need nothing from them. So we take a negative approach to reparations a lot of times. Ms. Doris, you may have experienced this already. Like, when you're talking to people,
Right.
our people, they like, we don't need that. We fine. We just need to get to work.
And a lot of Black people think the fact that they receive a welfare check is part of restitution. They don't know that's a social program.
And that keeps you in poverty. They need to look around and see that this little check keeps me in poverty. These people are making $200 and some million every hour, every hour. And we ain't never even seen the $1 million.
I have a millennial question,
Okay.
because, I represent a younger generation on this forum. And I will say that when I discovered the federal fight and argument about reparations, and the fact that it had been going on all my life, right? I found out that Conyers had been introducing that bill for reparations on the floor for since the late 80s. Okay.
It's been 32 years today.
Yeah,
32
yeah.
years.
This year. So every year I've been alive, literally. And I came upon a book in Goodwill one day, and kind of went down the rabbit hole and discovered this process that has been going through on a larger scale nationwide. And then I started going and asking questions to the people in my life, the people who raised me, my support system, the people I'm close to. And I started asking my circle about reparations. And I was like, how am I was almost 30. I wasn't 30 yet. This was back in 17. But I'm like, how am I almost 30 years old? And this has never been something we've talked about.
Exactly.
Why has it? Now, I want to ask y'all, because y'all have more years on the earth and more wisdom, and y'all been living longer than me. Is this something that y'all ever talked about at dinner?
Never.
At
Never.
family, as children?
yes,
Never.
yes, yes. I did talk about it when I was in junior high school. So this would have been back in, good God Almighty. It's a ways back. Let me just not try that. But yeah, junior high.
It
I was
was
13.
a worldwide thing in the Black neighborhood.
No.
We not talk about
No, Constance, I started the first Black History Month at Trinity High School back in 1990, 89, 90. And I still didn't come home and we talk about true injustices and how we gonna move forward or
But
reparations, never, none of that.
I just feel like there's something about the mentality of our people that has been trickled down and passed on. Why the fight to get what is owed to us?
We don't
Why
have a fight.
They
We don't
there?
have a fight. We don't have a fight. We're reactors. Like we're complacent until something happens, and then we may react for a moment, and then it settles down within a week. So I
Because
don't know. It's something in our overall makeup, or we've been tricked. I don't know. They're tricked.
I,
I mean, you know, the people that are still asleep.
I
yeah,
had,
but Ms. Morris,
go
the same. I was explaining reparations to people. This is like since 17, explaining the idea of reparations to people who were like old enough to be my parents, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like, I mean, here in High Point, I'm born and raised here. So it's just I feel like we have more than one audience and more than one approach when we widen this discussion on reparations, because our people do need to understand, first of all, that we're worth what we're arguing that we're owed, right? That we
right.
do deserve it and it was robbed from us. Some people can't even grasp the amount of wealth that we're talking about that's missing. You know what I'm saying? So while we're having the conversation with the descendants of the terrorists, we still have to free the mind of the descendants of the slaves. At the
How do we do that? How do we touch our own minds?
That's the conundrum. What do we do? How can we persuade our people to want it, to demand it? You gotta want it before you can demand it.
It's
Yeah,
our,
but I think it's not persuade. I think the word is convince. They went through hard time. I talked to a guy out on Penny Road here in High Point last weekend, 78 years old. When I talked about reparation, he cut me short. He said, "Yes, I want my money. They took my mama's money, my daddy's money, and they took me off my job and threw me in the service. And when I stayed in the service for 6 years, got back out, uh, there was a separation. But in the service, we fought together. But out here in the street, they don't know me." He said, "Yes, I want my money." I said, "It ain't about money." "Yes, it is about money, Doris. Yes, it is." I said, "What about being treated equal from this day forward?"
no, it's got to be having money to it, Miss Doris. It's got to be, because you can't do anything without money. Nothing. No
I
apology, or you can't do anything in this society. This is a capitalistic society. You can't move without money. So the driving force in this whole thing has to be money based first. It
but
scares people.
not
Still
be
say,
what we had listed, like can it not be the you put that food line back down on Kibbe
No, because who gonna own the food line? Who own the
that's
food
what
line?
it,
no,
No.
that's what it is. It's bigger than money. It's the system that money circulates in. Y'all have heard the statistics on how long the Jewish dollar circulates in the Jewish community, in the Asian community, in the Black community. What is it, like less than 5 minutes? So it's bigger than just the check, because we're not empowering ourselves financially as a community if we're getting that check and giving it right back to the banks, giving it right back to the descendants. So it's ownership, it's equity, it's a stake in the game. If we're talking
Land. It's land. Land builds everything. So if we're not given an abundance of land, it allows you to build the industry. It allows you to build an infrastructure. Everything is based upon the land first. We own less than 2% of the land in the United States. They own 98%, not Asians, nobody else but white folk, 98.9%. That has to be distributed. That has to be broken apart.
now,
Land runs the show.
We do
So if
need
we
that.
don't say money, we need to say land.
Yeah, exactly, Courtney, because we do need those grocery stores in our neighborhood, Miss Doris. But they don't need to be owned by anyone other than our people.
That's what I'm saying. Now that was the part that I told him. That was my second or third statement to him. And he was so set on money until I couldn't explain other opportunities,
Sure.
grants and things to him. Well, you know,
No.
he didn't want to hear all of
Because
that.
a grant means you got to get a grant writer. Somebody got to fill out an application. Somebody got to go through a
No.
process. That leaves half your community down in the hole still. No.
And then there's the competition that
No.
has the precedent of preference when it comes to time to turn in all those applications.
They need to send the
Okay.
card like they did the unemployment card. They need to send it in the mail and you need to be able to go and do what you like. That's what they do. So we need that opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that this is great information. And I want to ask a question related to money and how money is going to be asked in reparations. And so, what does 40 acres and a mule look like today?
$1 million. It equivalates.
Yeah.
More than you can
It
understand.
equivalates. You can look at the math on the real estate. 40 acres back then, what you could have cultivated on it, what you could have grown on it, what you could have built on the 40 acres, at least $1 million over generations. It's not one check, Rob. It's several. It happened over generations. I'm a 6th generation farmer on my land, 6th generation before documented in 1865. So we need to go at least 12 years, 12 generations of folk gonna get a check. This ain't no one-time ask we asking. How come they gonna give a check from 2022 to 2024? Oh, hell, we ain't doing that now. No.
But wait, I think I'm sorry, go ahead, Gordon.
The furniture industry that was built off the backs.
Of blacks, right?
Okay, so let's expand on that, Gordon, because I don't think what you're asking is out of the realm of possibility. Okay, now can High Point
the
give?
ceiling is open to us now. They don't have a cap. We should never allow people to put a cap on us anymore. We're asking like we're asking for these things. We
Oh, no,
need
you're
move
fine.
forward.
Yeah, you're fine. But here's my point about the $1 million, because I like the idea. Personally, $1 million for the next, would you say 12 generations, or the next 6 generations? It's a great idea. But the question again is, can the city of High Point do something like that?
No, we're not asking for all of that from the city of High Point. We're just asking them to actually join in our fight. You know, once your cities join in, it goes to the federal level. You know,
Right.
Once you get your city behind you, we're asking for more from our city than just money and in. We're asking for them to join in and partner with us in this fight.
Because
this is a fight.
By the pressure to the city so that the city, we're
This
over
is
one
bigger than-
by pressure on
this
the
is bigger than what they say they can give us.
Okay, wait. We need one at a time. So let me go to Connie, because those arms are flailing. She's ready. And then we're going to go to Courtney. And then we have a couple other members of our panel that has come on, and we would love to hear from you. So Constance, take it away.
It starts local. We have to collectively apply the pressure on the city level. And when the city is over their head, they have to go to the county. If it's larger than your district, well, then you got to take it to your rep, and it has to go to the state. So it starts here. That's why it's a monumental step, but it is a step. It is a step. This is how we get started. And that's why I'm excited. And that's why I'm passionate. But there's so much ground to cover. And we really have to be strategic on how we light this fire in our community, how we spread this word, how we ignite that passion, because it's going to take more than a handful of us.
All right, Ms. Courtney.
I'm done. I said my part about the federal level. We're just wanting them to partner. We want more from them than just the tangibles. We actually want their partnership.
Okay. All right. So let me ask this then. Do you think, are we not asking the city of High Point to provide reparations? Instead, are we asking them to join in a bigger movement to get it on a
It's a
federal level?
two-edged sword. It's a two-edged sword
Both.
for them.
Both.
Oh, you ain't just getting out the way. No, hold on. No, Rob. You still in the fire.
So then they owe us a portion of that $1 million per person per generation is what you're saying.
Yes.
They take their own parts. Whatever they've built in wealth over the years, that comes a part, a percentage of us. They could do it that way. Our point is built X amount of dollars in wealth over X amount of time. Ms. Doris has been here to see many years of it. She says she's 81. It's just an honor to have you on, Ms. Doris, and just to have you as passionate as you are, you know, where you are in life. We're just grateful to have you be a part of this.
I want to say one thing to you all. I have really enjoyed this morning. I like your zeal, your wordings, explanation, and all of that. But I want to say one thing. We are talking to people that have had this money for years and years. And if they knew about it, all of them, all the whites does not know how they got what they got. We have got to, I want to see a change in your ask. I don't want you to be violent. I don't want you to be mad. I don't want you to be angry. But I love your zeal. Soften your words. The Bible says, season your words with grace, but ask for it. You can ask in a very determined way, and you can make your statement, Courtney, Constant. You can make your statement, true statement. I receive it, but you're talking to somebody that does not understand or don't act like they know or want to hear. You coming in with documents to prove your ask. So we have got to be gentle but determined and firm. Can we do that?
So are you saying we got to have a Moses moment? Let my people go?
No.
We
I-
got to
I-
have
I-
a Martin Luther King moment. We're gonna be
I
the
respect you, Miss Doris. I respect you, but that hasn't
Whoa.
worked.
But wait, hold on. Let's hear what she has to say. When you say Dr. King, what do you mean, Miss Doris?
He was gentle in what he asked for, very determined. Nobody, regardless what the answer he got from the other side, it did not change his ask. He stood still and continued through all the negative things. Nobody changed the reason that he was doing what he was doing. They called names and everything else. And the only way they could stop him in that movement was to kill him. Okay, you all are younger and you have not been through not too much. Y'all been through some things, but not too much. And we are talking about the older people, the Amoses in this city, the Sylvanet in this city. We're talking to old money, and they are descendants. So we have got to be. We can't be strong will and arrogant about in our ask. Ask for what you want, but you tone it down. Courtney, it won't work. You know, with the way you say things, you say it's truthful. I understand it, but you don't have to be that loud and persuasive because they already know, as you said.
So I have a question. And I hear where you're coming from, Ms. Patrick. And I think there's a lot of relevance to then and now in terms of different approaches. We had Mr. Chestnut on here, and he actually said these words that we have to adapt to how things are being done now. So we have to be open to using a different tactic.
Exactly.
Now, the younger folks, those millennials, 2 points up for you, Connie, and even our folks, Courtney, we're frustrated. And, we have the vernacular. Okay. We know what to say and how to say it and where to say it at. We even know that the smoke screens are going to come. So, how do we tap into the way we feel and have that come out that, people are paying attention? Because we can be soft tone all day long. They're going to go back to Emerywood and they're going to lock the door. The
I don't
discrimination
get
persists.
that.
They may not even consider what we're asking for is enough because we're not loud enough.
Jason has his hand up.
Jason.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry I'm a little late.
Good.
I
Jason.
just want to, I've heard the bulk of this. I just want to say that as a younger person who fights for social and racial justice, that I think that the collective of people that have been in the fight have been asking and tiptoeing around and being nice about it for a long time. And I don't believe that, being nice is the way to do it. I don't think it's appropriate to ask for something that you're owed. I think it's appropriate to take what you're owed. And the only other thing is that I don't think a lot of people understand how radical Dr. King really was. There's a lot of conversation about, the elegance of his speaking. But, for example, a quote of Dr. King is, and I don't want to say it wrong, but it's non-cooperation with evil is just as much a moral duty as is cooperation with good. So, I don't know.
And
I
I
just
have
feel like,
led my people into a burning building, Jason.
right. So I mean, I think we should say what we say, and it
I'm
it
not
should.
saying change your speech. I'm saying change your tone. Don't change your wording. Don't change your ask. But don't be loud and the way you are, the way you say it, the way Courtney was explaining it at first, it's like she just really angry and she's demanding something.
No, she's not angry. Let me speak for Courtney, Miss Doris. Courtney's not angry at all. Courtney knows what she wants. Courtney lives in reality, and Courtney is going to get what she needs.
But that's the
And
way.
in generations to come, we cannot,
that-
Miss Doris, they came with power and guns. They have savagely abused us over time, over all of our lives and all the lives we've seen prior, before, and will
I
see.
agree with
It's
everything.
unacceptable behavior. It's
And
unacceptable behavior.
If I can say one more thing, I think I would align a whole lot more with Courtney being unapologetically Courtney than to go to City Hall and sing songs and pray with the city council. And that's just my position, which is, largely irrelevant, but that's just how I feel.
Okay, hold that thought for a minute, Jason. And I want Miss Patrick to expand on what she was saying because she was going to say something. And go ahead and finish, Miss Patrick.
I said it. That's all. I have zeal, but have gentle zeal. Don't take down. Don't change your statement. I mean, we're asking to be treated equal, and you have broken our civil rights.
Our human rights.
All right, Connie. I think
Human rights.
I put a real hand.
I want it back. But I'm not gonna start yelling at you and just my demand is I heard everything Jason said about Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther King, he did not raise his voice. He said everything he had to say, but he was very gentle and soft with his answer because his voice was soft. But we can't be adamant. We can't be. We got to do it with and with humility.
Connie.
Okay, I'm gonna be real fast. Two things. Yes, I do agree. Martin Luther King was an eloquent speaker and he believed in nonviolence and he stood for something that inspired the generation at that time. But I will also add, when he started talking about money, that started numbering his days. And I'm also
Amen.
going to say that maybe I'm the only one here, but I've received calls from bill collectors before. I don't know if y'all have, but a call from a bill collector is interesting because bill collectors, when they call, they do not have customer service. They do not call and say, "Hi, Miss Reynolds, how are you? You're having a great day." They call and say, "You Reynolds, right? 3353 Sycamore Drive. Okay, your social security number is such and such, such, such. I'm just making sure this you. This is you. Okay, because you owe us $375.93. Are you paying all of that now?"
Yeah.
Blink, blink, blink. And then guess what? If you don't pay it today, they're gonna call you back tomorrow. And the day after that. And the day after that. And they're simply doing their job, which is collecting a debt that you owe. And we have to be very matter of fact about this. And I understand what you're saying, Ms. Doris, because America is not used to us being articulate and strong-willed, articulate and outspoken and persistent,
Exactly.
educated and aware and also passionate. They're not used to Courtney's,
Exactly.
right? Not used to what to the way we speak and what we represent. But maybe it's time that that paradigm shifts, because at the end of the day, the debt keeps growing. And how many people are calling every day like, look, I mean, we get up here and we do this every Saturday, but really this should be multiplied across many Zoom links. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's totally opposite of what the civil rights fight looks like. But we have to be, Courtney says it all the time, we have to be who we are. You know, if we were playing spades at the family reunion and somebody reneged, I'm gonna call you out and I'm gonna say it with my chest because you not been cheat me in this game. Why we can't talk to them like that? Why we can't be just as passionate about being treated unjustly, while being aware, while being articulate, while being diplomatic and showing up at the meetings and filling out the proper forms. But with this approach that and this zeal, I think that it needs to catch fire and spread. Honestly, I don't think the gentle, passive approach is what catches the people's attention. And even Jesus flipped tables over in the synagogue. Jesus turned it out too now.
Yeah, but we have got to we got to get the word out, and you can't get the word out yelling. uh I can't understand yelling people, but tell me first, and and speak with clarity, and I will hear you, but don't yell at me. Tell me what you want. Respect me and let me respect you. I'll
Yelling, Miss Doris.
respect
Go
you.
back to that. Who are you referring to as yelling? Who's yelling? Who has not articulated their words and has been yelling?
None
Well,
of
no, wait. Let's
here.
not get into an accusatory tone, but
I'm just
let's let her finish, because I think what she's saying speaks to tone. So go ahead and finish real quick, Ms. Patrick, and then I have a question for the group.
What you said, Courtney, was true. But when you talk at first, don't say it like you're mad. I saw an angry black woman when you spoke. I know you're smart, you're intelligent, you're good looking, but that's going to get their attention right there. Say what you're going to say. You're not afraid to say it. You're going to walk tall, walk with your head up, and you got the words, what you need to say. Jason is saying it's unacceptable. Jason, we got to try first.
I'm saying what you're saying is unacceptable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you should come on here and call Courtney an angry black woman.
No,
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 that's-
no.
I
No,
mean,
no,
that's-
no, 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 no. She didn't do that.
No,
She
I
didn't do
wasn't
that. She was
saying
talking about
that.
somebody else. Yeah.
Yes, you
No.
did.
If
No, no,
you
no, 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 no. She didn't say she
took
was
it
angry.
like that, I was using an example. I'm sorry, Courtney, you're
Right.
not a black woman.
Yeah.
You're a lady. I respect you, and I'll probably be asking you a lot of things in the future because there's something I want you to help me do. Please forgive me, and if you took it that way, don't. I was trying to make a statement, and I'm gonna hush.
And I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna ask this question of the group, and this is gonna go back to what Connie just said about the bill collector. They're calling with an attitude, and they're calling with this threat because they have something to threaten us with, whether that be bad credit, repossession, being reported to the credit bureau again, bad credit. So I think in what they have behind them allows them to have that attitude. So what do we have behind us that we can have that attitude? Because I wouldn't mind making a phone call knowing that if you don't get us this money, we're going to repossess you or repossess something. Like, what do we have behind us that we can get that attitude out there? Because, I'm telling you, I know that we're frustrated. And, how to get that message across is what we're trying to do. We want justice. We really do. But in the same sense as getting justice, how are we going to get that justice? Because I'm like, I hear both sides of the conversation and both are right. And I think, as younger generations, we do sometimes forget that emotion plays a part into people's reaction. I've been doing sales for a long time. And one thing I can tell you about emotion, it doesn't get the deal done. The deal happens in the fine points of the presentation. I may not like this part of the agreement. Okay, I understand, but let me get this. Negotiation happens when you recognize a situation and you offer a solution. And there's nothing personal when it comes to business. A lot of people know this when we go to work, when we go to the bank. We know this when we're dealing with each other. We're going to walk into a situation, expecting one thing, and then it turns around and we replay it in our mind. What did I say? How did I say it? We're not going to walk into a bank and be upset because the interest rates are too low and we can't get no money off of it. We accept those terms or we go somewhere else. So I think that we should have something that allows those oppressors to know we're serious. If it's tone, great. I don't have a problem with that as long as we know we're going to get a result. If we go in yelling and screaming, that's all we're going to get. Because yelling and
Rob,
screaming at some point has to come with a solution. That solution has to be something that's presented that makes sense. I take tone out of my conversation. I take emotion out of my ask. What you got? Just like in spades, you ain't got but so many cards. Put it on the table. What you got? And until you cheat, we don't get upset. When we get busted on them spades, we try to come back with the next hand. See, we understand that rule because this is how the game is played. So how do we get that tone and that ask right? Because both are great points, but how do we get it?
Well,
Rob, can
okay,
Ken, your
right.
hand was up. Excuse me, Ken, your hand was up.
Okay, here's the thing. What we got right now is two theories And I think the dividing line is, probably generational, but I won't get into that. But you got two theories on what's inappropriate behavior and what's appropriate behavior. Okay, and there are two conflicting theories. So in scientific method, if you have two conflicting theories, you run an experiment. Okay, I would suggest that we just lived through one of those experiments last year. Okay, and that was that since 1968, I think, most folks would agree that Black folks haven't made a lot of progress from 1968 until now. But with 40, well, really 50 years, with 50 years of marching and singing and praying and voting, we found ourselves in the situation we found ourselves in 2020. Well, in 2020, America got lit on fire. And a whole lot of things moved real quick. So was it the marching, singing, and praying and hand holding and, respectability politics? They got things done, they moved the needle, they got all of these racist DAs taken out of office. They got these cops starting to actually be prosecuted and actually being sentenced to jail? Or was it the fact that America got lit on fire? You can make your own judgment. I'm not going to suggest which one it was. Second experiment is it's great to talk about Dr. King. White folks love talking about Dr. King. But I want everybody to think about the fact that they killed him. Okay, so they didn't like him when he was alive. They couldn't stand Dr. King when he was alive. The president that signed most of his agenda into law called him a nigger and a monkey. Okay, nobody was on board with it. Okay, on the white side. Would Dr. King have been effective without Malcolm X waiting in the wings? Would Dr. King have been effective without Stokely Carmichael waiting in the wings? That's just something I want everybody to think about.
And
so when you have two different theories, say it again.
70% of Blacks at the time of Martin Luther King did not support him. 70% of our Black community did not support him.
Wow.
It's data, it's documented.
Yeah, and that's true. But, white folks picked Dr. King out of a whole lot of turmoil and tension in the Black community because he's their favorite one out the bunch. And that's why we have, this sanitized, whitewashed Dr. King that gets presented to us on every January, because he's the safe one. He's the good Negro. He's the soft-spoken one. He's the one that was for nonviolence. But there was a lot more going on in the 60s than just, mild-tempered Dr. King. And Dr. King wrote about that, and he took open advantage of that fact, by the way, too, to move his own agenda. It's not like he wasn't aware of Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad. He was aware, and he used that to his advantage. So, and white folks, like I said, they picked their favorite, and that's who they picked. So, that's all right.
Looks like we picked ours too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we've got who's our favorite?
I'm with Malcolm X all day, by any means necessary.
Courtney.
I have no favorites.
Brittany.
Malcolm.
Connie.
My favorite is yet to come.
Let's say Nat Turner. Let's go all the way back. Let's say
Oh yeah, Nat Turner is, yes, definitely Courtney. Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, I can name many. So that's why I say I have no favorites. I can say the Robertsons, you know, I mean, I can say so many different people. We can say the Littles, Malcolm's parents first. We can say Marcus. We can say many different people.
Ms. Patrick, you had your hand up.
You all are making your own footprint. You're not gonna have to follow nobody else's. Nobody else is. I mean, the wisdom and knowledge that y'all are exposed to, Malcolm nor King nor anybody you name had that available to them, and the strength.
The world.
Yeah, the strength that y'all have. I just admire you all. But let me ask one thing, and I have ran across this a couple of times. Do you think John Thomas of Thomas Built Bus, do you think he explained to his children how he got his money, how he didn't pay the blacks? Do you think, oh gosh, what's the place down on, it's a yarn place that was on Kivett Drive that was paying their employees 85 cents an hour. Do you think the owner explained to the children what they was doing? And I say that to say a lot of the whites that we are talking to now are your age, and they do not know what their parents did completely to the black. Some know in part. And I see Courtney smiling already.
Oh, no, I'm not smiling at you. I'm smiling at this. No, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I forget I got face on too.
But I say to you all, fight on. Don't come down. Life will make the changes. So I'm with you.
Well, I would like to comment on that question, Ms. Patrick, and I would say yes.
You think so?
I think they're having conversations, and of course, we're not there. But I think in order for this to, remain the way it has for so long, of course they got to be telling them.
Somebody knew.
They're using terms, that are more economic for its base. We're talking about a target group. We're talking about districts. We're talking about the disadvantaged. Those clue words, they know what that means. Look at Donald Trump. He has a reported history of discriminatory practices and paying his employees. That was
Right.
all over the news, but yet he became president. The immoral, reprehensible behavior that he has is something that was accepted. They made him into a president.
Right.
And so,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Courtney.
I was just gonna say, I met a white guy this week. I was looking at a commercial property. And we were talking, walking through the property, and he told me, he was a third generation. His grandfather was the owner of the real estate company. He was proud of that. He talked about how his grandfather, what they were doing this year was rebranding themselves, and how they were rebranding themselves was that they were, getting out of the darkness, basically, of their grandfather's ways, and how he, plumaged through counties and gave people pennies on the dollar for their properties, and how they have property everywhere, okay, commercial and real and residential, but how, how their grandfather was, how he did business, and how they wanted to work on relationships and go within communities that he had destroyed and just work on some relationships. So I listened to that third generation white boy. Just think of what you're saying. They know, they're proud of what they've done, Ms. Doris. It's people, they trick you. That's all I'm gonna say. They continue to give you something to drink because these people know, they're very, very proud of their history. I have friendships and relationships with old farmers that tell me stories. They're 87, 90, 92 years old. They tell me stories about how the man around the hill, let a young teenager, when freedom came for slaves, he kept a slave, how they brutally murdered them and dug holes. Like, you go out there, slave nigga, and you plant these pecan trees for me, you dig holes. And when they dug the holes, they really killed the niggas and put them in the holes. So these stories go around their families over generations and generations, how they peeled our skin off and how they have coats and jackets of our skin, our ancestors. So please don't believe and don't be so naive to think that these people don't know their stories and they don't pass them down to their children. These children know more than you think they know. They just act that way to you.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to remind everyone of a comment that was made in a public forum about families and the tradition of having slaves in the city. And think about what Courtney just said. And think about what Ms. Patrick just asked. They know. They have full understanding of what it means to keep them in an economic advantage. It's all about the dollars. It's all about the dollars. And, I want to go back to the tone thing. And, I think you guys are great bringing this up because I just saw an example of how we have to bridge the gap between our ancestors, our elders, and our young people, everybody. We got to work together. And there was a time, Ms. Patrick, that again, Dr. King, nice tone, but to Ken's point, if we didn't have Malcolm X, if we didn't have Fred Hampton, if we didn't have Stokely Carmichael and the Black Panther Party, they really destroyed all of our leaders because they knew that back then it was about information.
Yep.
And that information, as it gets out, it's going to play to a different set of people because there are some educated Black folks. There are some, there were some middle-class Black folks. There's a lot of low-income Black folks. And so how we're going to reach that wide audience while still maintaining our presence with the oppressor, we got to figure it out. And the only wrong action is inaction. That's the way I look at it. So, you guys tell me what you think.
I'm going to play catch up. I'm going to catch up with you all.
Well, I don't know if you're ready for that because, we got Nike Airs and, we're out here trying to throw rocks.
I do not want to discourage either one of you all. Because all of y'all bring something good and different to the table when I'm talking about or when we talk about reparation. And I like that. I invite that. So keep up the good work.
All right. So,
Thank you, Ms. Doris.
So I'm going to go around the room real quick because I wanted to start today's podcast, or I wanted to talk about what reparations looks like. And I want to go around the room and just get, one thing that reparations can look like in this city. I'll start with you, Brittany. What can reparations look like in the city of High Point?
Only. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would say financial literacy.
Okay. I'll go next to Ken.
As long as it's got finances with it. But no, I would say the what Ms. Patrick said earlier, the redistribution of tangible resources. And tangible means it's tradable. So if you want a smaller word to put in there, tradable resources, that means real estate, money, stocks, bonds, tangible resources have a value and show up on a financial statement.
Okay. Courtney?
I would say redistribution, just like they just said, redistribution. And that does come with a check. And land
Definitely
grants, land distribution.
Mhm.
Constance. I think she may be getting ready.
Oh, wow, where do I begin? Okay. So I agree with my panel. I do believe that funds are included. But what I think that also looks like in a major way on a community level is the structuring of those funds, not just individually, but for the next generations to come. So the creation of and expansion of Black-owned banks and financial institutions, investment funds and hedge funds, equity into businesses and markets that bring revenue to the city every year, ownership of some of the things that we patronize on a daily basis in our daily lives: grocery stores, gas stations, drugstores, you know, the things
Supply
that,
chain, all the way to supply chain.
yes,
everything
absolutely,
that comes down the
distribution,
supply chain.
yes, logistics, everything. We need a hand in it. Development, not just buying the land, but developing the land. Access to contracts with these with these organizations and institutions that bring revenue to the city. So it's bigger than just the money, but where the money goes, how the money circulates, and it's bigger than programs. Because if there are any, and I love when people say the word program, because look, if there's a program that we need to educate our children, we need to design it, we need to approve of it, we need to hire for it, we need to create the budget for it, we need to implement it, we need to make it a requirement, we need to say this is our alternative to the public school system, we need to say, you know, we have to have our own. We have to have our own.
Okay. Ms. Patrick, what does reparations look like?
I want to ask the question rather than, I agree with the redistribution. I'm gonna say this quickly. The condom place up on English Street ran by, there's a program in there. There's several programs in the building, but the one that's run by my ward leader, Cecil Jefferson. I think it's Jefferson or Jeffrey. Yeah, Jefferson. He run this program that offer Black people grant money to start their building a business or to grow their business that they are. Is that a part of reparation?
Is he telling Black people about it?
That's right.
I'm
Brittany, you heard about
Yeah.
it?
Yes, it's been on the YouTube, it's been in the newspaper, and they're constantly inviting people from the Chamber of Commerce event. If you get on their events calendar, you will see what kind of come up, you know, periodically or having something.
Are you talking about the Thrive Initiative, Ms. Doris?
Yes, I think that's one of them. Yeah.
Okay, because Cyril's company is called Changed Often, and then in the building is the Thrive Initiative, and they're actually supported through the Business High Point Chamber of Commerce, which is also housed in Condon, right? So it's not a part of reparations, but it is a program. And the reason why I say it's not a part of reparations is because it's under these bigger initiatives that have already been accepted as and geared towards to help entrepreneurs, to help minority entrepreneurs. But
Right.
there again, you got that word minority, you see,
Nope.
because minority and Black are not the same thing. A minority can be a woman. A minority can be someone who's not Black. And before we know it, it's a minority could be based on your sexual orientation. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's not specific enough to be called reparations. Although it is something that that I refer people to. I think that a part of lighting that fire of our people in our community is spreading awareness about all the resources that are available, because we just have to get better about keeping our people in the know. The city is not going to do that for us.
Exactly.
So we
Okay.
do have to make sure that people know. But then the other thing about it is, and I'm gonna be quiet because I'm talking, but the other thing about it is everybody is not going to be a business owner. So we can't just bank on these programs that are lifting up business owners when some people just need training to find gainful employment, right? So some people need are more craftsmen, and they need to find their training to be able to work with their hands and create wealth with the works of their hands. So there's more than one avenue than, setting up your business with the commerce. I mean, I get it, and that's the route for some people to go. But we're talking about generations that have just been widely counted out. And yeah, I appreciate Thrive and what it's doing, but it's not quite.
Courtney, you had your hand up.
So I had a couple of things on was that Condon, that building?
Yes.
Okay, so that name is on that building. That name is on, we can just look at their family. That name is on the hospital, a hospital wing. That name ties to who? Old Dominion. That name goes, that name trickles all the way down if we look at the owner of that in the name, that name alone.
Right.
So do we know any Black family with that same kind of history, that name on hospitals, on transportation, that whole freight? We don't have that. So that name alone should stir up something in us to say there's a blatant display of the unjust plan bill. Then I was going to say we need to look at true institutional learning for our people. And when I say true institutional learning, our HBCUs are limited because many of our HBCUs are owned by, look at the history in Howard, look at the history in Spelman. These were people who did horrific things to our people. So again, is it truly a historically Black university when it's owned by white people? No, we need to create our own institutions where their curriculums are based on what the board, white people, decide for it to be. So we don't even learn all the things that we should learn, reparations and what our people have truly been through. We don't even learn that in our class. Even Africana studies, a lot of times at a HBCU, is limited in their curriculum on what they can teach. So we need true institutions that truly teach and are truly funded by our money. Another thing I was going to say are railroads, airplanes. We don't even look to think about, we're not a part of those industries. Automobile, we're not a part of those industries. We must be able to have our people, we love buying cars. We love buying nice things. We need to be able to put our money in our own things. We need to be able to fly an airplane that is owned by Blacks. We're putting back into that. We need to be able to ride railroads, bring our supply chain again, bring our goods and services in demand to our communities on Black railroads, on busways. We need to be thinking a lot bigger than, we need infrastructure. We need to be deeply rooted within the infrastructures of America.
Okay, Rod, I can't get my hand down, so don't pay it no attention.
Okay. Thank you. Well, let me say this, guys. In response to the question that I had, which is what does reparations looks like? For me, reparations, it is a check, and it's a check that is given over the same amount of time that the injustice took place. And what that amount is I ain't yet figured that out, but I think the same time it took for us to get into this situation is the same amount of time I want my generation or my family to catch up to that generational wealth. So that could be 3, 4, 6 generations from now. But every one of my descendants who come after me, including me, we get monies that go toward building us back into that equity model. Because when it comes down to it, if it's about the money, everybody gets to decide what they want to do with their money. That to me is equivalent to 40 acres and a mule. Okay. Because someone knew that 40 acres and a mule would equate to wealth. They knew that 40 acres and a mule meant something in this country. And this is why it was taken away, because if you have land and you have a mule, you can cultivate that land. You can sell that land. So I don't think giving individuals land at this stage of the game is the same as it meant 400 years ago. So for me, reparations, it is that check, or it is tax free. Maybe for the next 5 generations, my folks don't pay taxes. But I see it just strictly as a monetary compensation for injustices that have been given to my people. Courtney, you had your hand up.
Hold on, I forgot. Um, I just think that when we say the monetary part, I think we're shy on saying the monetary part. I think we're afraid a lot of times when that's our first demand. They say, well, reparations, isn't. We need to stand firm in that and make that our first. That's number one, because without the wealth, and then when we refer back to the 40 acres and a mule, that was lowballing us, Rob. A 40 acres and a mule was a low ball. Okay, so we should not be referring to the 40. That was just crumbs on the table. When those immigrants got off the boat, they could stake out as much land as they could walk. They were given land grants in Guilford County, Randolph County, up to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acres of land. 40 acres, we shouldn't refer to that as our pinpoint, because that was already an injustice. That was already disrespectful to our ancestors. So we need to bank more on not 40, but on thousands. We're thinking too small. We're thinking where they put us in that box. They took that narrative. That's not our narrative. We don't have to take that narrative. I don't need 40 acres and a mule. What's that going to do? I need 4,000 acres and some tractors and some metal frame buildings and some construction and some industries brought upon it. I need 4,000 acres so I can build a landing strip for an airport. We need 4,000 acres for many things. So 40, no, we need to move from that name. That's little numbers. Those are crumbs.
Well, let me point out too, when there's a part of me, it feels like these what does reparations look like discussions are harmful in and of themselves. Reparations is not a topic that requires imagination. And every time we act like it does, we give them something to latch on to. Okay. Yeah, reparations has never in human history been a complicated concept. No other generation, no other peoples have ever used their quote unquote imagination to figure out what reparations was. And I don't understand what makes us feel compelled to do that. Reparations is not, it's in the dictionary. It means one thing, and all through human history, and it means one thing now: money. So that's all I'll say. I think every time we give voice to the idea that reparations can somehow be something else that you can cook up in your imagination, it does damage to our cause.
Well, Kim, that's why I want to check. The money, is the centerpiece of this whole conversation. For
Yeah.
those that want it, for those that don't want it. And like, Doris Patrick said, she's got white friends who says, why I gotta pay? Because it's about the money.
Because it's about the money.
Period.
And even,
point blank.
even if you want to go back to Dr. King, their favorite Negro, even if you want to go back to Dr. King, right before they killed him, he said he wasn't talking mealy mouth at that point. He got everything he asked for, and then he said, wow, what good is it to sit at the lunch counter if I can't afford a lunch, to order my lunch, to pay for lunch? And at that point, right before they killed him, he wasn't talking like that. He said, we're coming to get our check. And then magically he had to die. So, yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, we've had a magnificent Saturday podcast, and it has been enriching to know that we have an idea about what we are worth and what our value is. As Black people in this country, the one thing we know is struggle. The one thing we deal with every day is struggle. And these reparations that we have in High Point, my hope is that it represents a change in our thinking. We can be a part of this conversation now. And I don't mean the conversation with reparations. I mean the conversations about wealth, about having the things that our community needs. Let's take these nonprofits that are so numerous in their, listings, that we shouldn't be just relegated to services. We should have the option to choose what we can do for ourselves. And it starts here with this reparations. We're owed this. This is what the NAACP and High Point came up with as a resolution to the city of High Point. They have named that perpetrator. That perpetrator is the policies, is the programs that have been in this city for so long that it's got us at a disadvantage. And, this is the time to make it happen. Anyone who's listening on this video, I ask you guys, tune into this podcast every Saturday. We're on from 10 to 12. You can visit the NAACP's website at highpointnaacp.org. We welcome comments, we welcome suggestions, we welcome participation. There's a page there. You guys can blog, send your comments, call the branch. But I think everyone should get ready for that discussion when they're asked, because when it's asked, whether it's going to be in a calm tone, Ms. Patrick, whether it's going to be more of a demanding tone, and I'm sorry to call you out, Ms. Patrick, I just put it out there because every time we ask, we need to understand what it is what we have to say. This is what I want. This is how it's going to be fine. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you see the comment of the two white guys that wrote in the paper about reparation that the Blacks are asking for? I think it's in the Greensboro News. Anyway, I just invite you to read that. He's very arrogant to me.
Was this recent? Today, yesterday?
Well,
This week?
Harrison commented on it in our meeting. I think it happened recently, within the past week.
What's the
Okay.
branch? Hopefully they can share that link or something. We gotta look for it.
I'll get Elma. I'll ask her because she was the one that talked about it. I saw it, a different one much earlier that was in the High Point paper. So sounds like it's two old white guys that ain't got nothing to do but say negative things about Black. Probably very prejudiced, probably ex-KK or still Klansmen.
Courtney, I think you got your hand up. Yeah.
I was gonna say in our we say the ask, but let's say the demand for reparation or what is due to us. Can we can we negotiate how to get our businesses back? I'm gonna speak for the ladies over here. We spend a lot of money at the hair store. And can we demand that, like, seriously, that the Koreans that have that on lockdown, that they can't sell to in our neighborhoods, seriously, and they cannot own hotels near us, or they cannot own smoke shops in certain vicinities, certain zip codes, or however that looks. Can we get back owning? Can we own entertainment? Can we take those people out of that? The white people that are in that entertainment business of Jewish religion. Can we take those out? Can we get that back? Can we get sports? Can we own sports teams? Because we're not allowed to own them. We're just allowed to give them sweat equity. So can we own the teams instead of them own them? Since they've had so many centuries of owning them, can we do that this time? Can they, all them 32 owners or however many, can they sit down and then we take over? See, that's how you equal playing fields. Some industries just need to be sat down and then let us take over them, because we're already in them. The food industry, we should be doing the food industries. We created the food in America. Why we don't own none of the food industries? So I just want us, when we're asking for things, I want us to be thinking like that on those pages.
And that's one thing that I would say was effective about the civil rights movement. They would boycott something now. We are the largest consumer group. We spend the most consumer dollars, and we won't boycott.
Walmart.
Now's the time to boycott.
Yeah, that's when you get things demand. So when we stop going to Walmart, for instance, Food Line, Harris Teeter, when we stop these things in High Point, just specifically, our dollars going to shake the core of their revenue. And when their bottom line hits to red, they're used to being in the green. When they hit to red, that's going to start affecting them in many ways. Okay, so we have to look at things like that. What affects them?
Courtney, I love that you said that. And it brings to mind an idea, and I think we should. High Point would be a great place to start something like this. When you said all of these stores in our neighborhood, okay, I'm not necessarily sure it's a matter of that being reparations or just something we can do to smarten up as a community.
It's just uniting as a community. And
and I feel like we ought to go business. I think we ought to go door to door, from business to business, everything that's in our neighborhoods. And you can start with the hair store or the corner store or whatever. You can start with the gas station.
Get out.
Where does the money in this place go? What is your investment back into the Black community that you serve? And if the answer does not meet our satisfaction, then you boycott that sucker out of existence.
But Ken, it's not going to meet our satisfaction, because you already know the things in the neighborhoods, and you already know.
Of course I know, but I'm just saying,
they take to their country, they get back to their own countries.
Yeah, I was gonna say those checks go to Western Union.
Yeah.
No, 100% of that money is funneled back to wherever their people hail from.
That's why I don't understand America, because if they would just give us the opportunity, what they did was they stripped us from our homeland. So we don't have a place to send the money to. So what we're going to do is build back their economy even more and more if they let us. But see, they hate us that much that they'd rather see the money go back to another country than stay in their own country.
Than to stay in America. Yep.
That's
crazy.
Hate is, and I really want us to change our converse, the way we discuss racism, because like Rob said, these are business transactions and we have to learn to take our feelings out of it. It's not hate, it's fear. It's fear of losing. But y'all have to keep in mind, this is the same fear of losing that them folks felt at the end of the Civil War. Even when the Civil War started, it was fear of losing political power, economic power. It was fear of going from the top to the bottom, and that fear has not died. Same fear.
But they rewarded them after they lost. They rewarded them. You see, they lost, but they won.
Yep.
They rewarded them with seats in the congressional. They rewarded them. They gave them, more than they could have ever asked for after they lost. after they fought their brothers, their own people. We
And
talk
that
about black
goes,
on black violence. Let's talk about white on white violence. It's real.
and you know what?
Look at Ukraine right now.
But see, and that's my point. And you know, Connie, you said it. Fear of a Black Planet. Public Enemy put that album out. And I think that is an excellent point to reference here because they know what it's about. Our oppressor knows what it's about. They created the system called capitalism. And, you know, we have a country that we live in. It's based on the principle of who has the most dollars. We respect those who have more than us because they can have these lavish lifestyles. Well, give my money. Give me my money, period. And, you know, again, they know what they want to happen in this world. I even think this conflict in the Ukraine is over dollars.
Yeah.
It has to be
It's over
over
nuclear
what?
weapons and money. Nuclear weapons and money.
Well, you know,
And the
weapons, you
ability
know,
to,
well,
and
they
the
sell,
ability to make them, create them, I think.
that's what I'm saying. They sell guns. You know, we all read the history. You know, war is about money all the time. We had 2 world wars that put into the process called capitalism and the spread of Western indoctrination of how everyone has a right to vote, but still you have those who control the narrative. And today I have to pay $4 for a gallon of gas because they're having a problem in Russia. They sold us that story. They sold us the story that we need to re-inject the economy. So they're giving out these stimulus checks. So we deserve the money. I want my money. Period. Point blank. Courtney, I think $1 million is great for me to start out with. I think it's great that my children have $1 million. I think it's great for my grandchildren to have $1 million. If that's what the number is going to be, give me the money.
Rob,
$1
you,
million for my grandma, my mama, her grandmama, my great granddaddies. They need $1 million too.
Yeah. Oh, they're gonna get that. You're gonna get theirs too.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, Courtney. Make it generational for the next 12 years.
It
For the
won't
next
work
5
without it.
generations.
You
There
can't
you
just
go.
give one because one may squander it away. You
That's
gotta,
right.
you just, they have opportunities. They've had opportunities over 16 generations, 12 generations. Some squandered, some did good. So just, we have to have the same opportunities. That's all.
Mhm. I hear you, Courtney.
And we should get some of our intellectual properties back that they stole. We talked about that, you know, the patents and stuff. We shouldn't allow them to continue to keep those.
I agree.
I hear
do
you.
you know what? If we could get the blacks to stick with the blacks, to hang together. Okay, Courtney and I might have a disagreement, which we do not have a disagreement. Rob and I might have a disagreement. We need to learn to accept one another difference, but stay together. Do you know the white man is very afraid of black people when there's more than 3? They do not like black people sticking together. We are powerful. And that is one thing that they did when they put them on the ship. They turned them against one another. Besides, made them stop using their language. They turned them against one another. I have a neighbor, Mexican, 18 people in the house. They have built and remodeled houses on Wendell Street because one of the persons in that house is a contractor. The next one is a roofer. The next one is an electrician. All of them put that skill together and redid it. It's a couple of houses that I know about, but he said they were was gonna buy more houses. They had either been condemned or the government has taken them back, the banks has taken them back, et cetera, et cetera. they are going to be our number one race in the future if something don't happen.
But look how white people do. They don't bother them, Miss Doris. They don't go burn down their houses. They don't burn down their towns. They don't burn down their banks. They leave the Hispanic alone. They mess with us.
They are afraid of blacks. When they tried to put a factory down here in our neighborhood, I live off of Cedro. Years ago, 20 years ago, all the neighborhood came together and went to City Hall. They backed down after we went up there twice on 2 different meetings that city council had. They backed down. It was too many black people together, pulling together. We need that again now with you all. I don't like jealousy just because you get some. I don't begrudge you if you're moving up. I don't begrudge. That's not a thing that should be among the black race. We should learn to encourage and push one another, stick together, accept the difference. I'm riding around in a Toyota. If you ride around in a Lamborghini, it's fine. I don't despise that. I should encourage you. So our weak point is not sticking together.
Dr. Claude and Alexander talks about that though. You know, he talks about how it's a code. We should just have a code of conduct, a code of behavior within our community. We don't have to like each other. It's just a code of behavior that we exude to the outside world, that we do know at certain points we do come together on just this one common thread. And this one common thread moves us down the chain.
Gang members do it.
Yeah, they do. They don't like each other, but they stick together.
They got code.
They got a code. It's a code.
And if you talk about the gangs, and if you talk about the gangs, what's their number one? Money. I don't think they're really out about violence as much as, you know, because if you go back to the 70s, you know, gangs were created to help protect their neighborhoods.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and so again, you know, this discussion has so many levels to it that we have great opportunities. The time is now to seize that opportunity. And whatever we have to do to bridge that gap of communication, I think it's imperative for us to create our own narrative. And so I'm going to wrap up, guys, because we're getting close to the end. But I want to thank Ms. Patrick for coming on. Again, one of our historians of the NAACP here in High Point. I want to thank my panel today because there were some great points made to what reparations is going to look like today. We want to make sure we push this narrative. Everyone here, we have the tools to do it. Let's go make it happen. You know, let's have those discussions, because the discussion is where we're going to get the message across. We need you guys. It's time to come on board. It's time to make it happen. Okay. So again, I'm going to take us out. I want everyone to have a great day today. It's a great Reparations Saturdays. I look forward to seeing everybody next week. And you guys have a great weekend.